How do you break down and explain a character that is possibly certifiably insane with several distinct personalities? You know, I'm really not that sure because I didn't finish my psych degree, but I'm gonna give it my best shot. Are you ready, nerdlings? Because it's time to dive in to Moon Knight. What is up, nerdlings, and welcome back to my channel. If you're new, welcome. I'm Danny Sanssouci, licensed cosmetologist and registered super nerd, and this is Comics and Cosmetics, where I do my makeup inspired by whatever nerdy topic I've been obsessing about that week while I talk about it. That was smooth. This week, as I told you from the future, we're discussing the best we can, Moon Knight. We're gonna go over his original origins, some of the things they changed later in the comics. He's more of a fringe character. He's never been one of the guys in the forefront, but he's pretty interesting. He's kind of like Marvel's Batman, but they totally lean into the mental illness like a whole lot. It's been kind of a big week here at Comics and Cosmetics, at the Comics and Cosmetics household. Not gonna lie, we got to interview a really cool guy last week. I don't know if you noticed, Mr. Details. Thank you so much again for allowing me the opportunity to sit down and talk to you about the Book of Boba Fett, Mandalorian, your roles in 4 Star Wars movies, and you being the first live action Pike Syndicate. That's been really cool. We're now on Twitter. Comics and Cosmetics is on Twitter. I'm gonna put that below. You can follow us at D_Sanssouci. Yeah, that's me. Yeah, and it's pronounced Sanssouci. Sanssouci. So Moon Knight first appeared in Werewolf by Night number 32 in 1975. When he was first introduced in this comic, he was kind of a bad guy, like an anti-hero. He was hired by this group called the Committee to take out Werewolf by Night, whose name is Jack Russell. Can we take a moment to appreciate that the Werewolf by Night character was named after Jack Russell, like the breed of dog. It's adorable. I smile every time. So when he finds out that the committee has nefarious plans for Jack Russell, he switches sides and teams up with Werewolf by Night to take out the committee. So good for him. He supports animal rights. And it wasn't until 1980 that he got his first title on his own. Until then, he had just kind of been in the back pages of Hulk, the Hulk comics. And in his first comic run, we find out that his name is Mark Spector. He's from Chicago, Illinois. We won't hold that against him though, right? It's not his fault. He has terrible baseball and pizza. He's the son of a rabbi and later trains as a boxer, a heavyweight boxer, and becomes a Marine, joins the CIA, very successful. And it was after his successful military and, I guess, spy career that he decides, I think I'm gonna take my badass skills and become a soldier of fortune. He decides to, make money as a mercenary. He takes a job with his BFF, Jean-Paul Duchamp, who he very cleverly calls Frenchie. And they end up working in Egypt on the crew of this guy, Raoul Bushman. And they'd been you know, kind of touring the sedan with this guy. He's a very scary man, Raoul Bushman. He believes in using fear to, you know, get what he wants. He rules by terror. Dun, dun, dun. And he believes this so much that he has tattooed his face to look like a very scary skull. He's very scary. He truly believes in this scary lifestyle. Ooh. That looks like the Violator. That's awesome. We're done. Thanks for coming. Like and subscribe. Mark had before, you know, he had started to voice concerns about the level of brutality that Bushman had been doling out. And Bushman's like, relax. You got a lot to learn, my friend. You got a lot to learn. You're just a newborn baby Merc. Let me teach you my ways. So Bushman tells the crew that he's heard that this professor, this archaeologist, has discovered a tomb south of there. And they're gonna go, or they're gonna steal all the treasure. They're gonna take it all. And Mark is questioning it. He's like, you know, taking down warlords and stuff is one thing. Toppling governments, sure. That's great for a Friday night. But now we're tomb raiders? We're grave robbers? We're just gonna steal stuff? That's not what I signed up for. And Bushman's like, tough. That's just the way the cookie crumbles, Mark Spector. This is my crew. This is what's gonna happen, okay? Okay. Well, around this time, Frenchie shows up. And he tells Mark that he has stolen a peek at Bushman's secret papers. And he feels like we're on the wrong side here. We are definitely on the wrong side. We need to leave. And Mark's like, I was thinking the same thing, but hold on. He's calling us over. We gotta go. Confronts Bushman and basically says that this is a bunch of crap. Like, it could be, you know, not true, because no tombs have ever been found this far south of Luxor. And Bushman's like, we do what I say around here, sir, so shut up and get in line. So he goes with him. I genuinely don't know why, because he's already sitting here saying how this is crap, we shouldn't go. And they end up going to this village of Salima, where Bushman attacks the village like full brutal force. Like, he's just a bastard. They grab up all the villagers and he tells them to take them to the village square, like line them all up in the village square. And they start questioning the villagers where this archaeologist is and where all his treasure is. So that archaeologist that they're looking for, Dr. Aileron, is in his like hut with his daughter Marlene, and he's grabbing this golden dagger and he tells her, stay here. He knows who that is. He's heard the villagers, you know, people around talking about him fearfully, and just to wait here. She's like, oh my God, no. So he goes out there and sneaks up on Bushman while he's, you know, not paying attention. And Mark sees him come up behind Bushman with this golden dagger. But instinctively, he's like, look out. You know, what you do when you see someone He's behind you. And Bushman grabs him, and Mark's like, oh, you want me to take him to the village square with the rest of them? He's like, no. And he grabs him, and he bears these steel teeth he has. He has these like jagged steel teeth. It's really crazy. And he freaking bites the professor like a vampire, like. And as he's laying there dying, he tells Mark, he's like, my daughter, you know, the White House over here. So he tells Mark that, you know, please basically go help my daughter. So as Bushman is like chiding Mark for being a big baby, he's like, you're too soft for this lifestyle. You need to get tougher. You need to understand fear. And he's going on about it like supervillains do. Mark skedaddles over to their little domicile where Marlene is. And of course, right away, she's not trusting him. She's like, no, I'm not going with you. You people killed my dad. Not doing it. But he gets her out of the house and convinces her to take this very conveniently placed Jeep and run. He's like, you gotta hide, you gotta run. Like, he's doing everything he can to save her. He wasn't as sneaky about it as he thought he was. And Bushman, you know, catches him. And he's like, you know, I'll let this pass this one time since, you know, you saved my life and all that. But don't do that again. Well, then he goes over to the village square. He's like, come on, we got some stuff to do. I forgot. I'm a murderous bastard for a second. I gotta go be a murderous bastard. So follows him to the village square, and he orders all the villagers to be executed. So they've got the firing squad going, and they kill all of the villagers. Like, just kills them for no reason, really. Well, Mark quite justifiably freaks the F out, and he's like, what the hell did you do that for? You're crazy. Why would you do that? So this time, Mark goes blind with rage and physically attacks Bushman, who is basically laughing at him as he straight whomps his ass. By the way, Frenchie's just watching from the shadows, like, does nothing. So Bushman orders his other men to dump Mark in the desert alone with nothing, to die. Just leaves him out there. So Mark is very badly beaten, like mortally wounded. And he wanders this desert kind of delirious. And he is found eventually by Marlene and the men that worked for her and her father. They take him into the temple, which happens to be the temple of Khonshu, the tomb of Khonshu, and he dies there at the feet of this silver-cloaked statue, this idol of Khonshu. And that's not me farting, it's my chair. As he dies there at the feet of Khonshu, in the original comics, it doesn't tell or show us what happened as he laid there dying. They later mention it many years later in comics, retcon that what had happened was Khonshu comes to him and offers him a choice. He can either stay dead, lay there and die, his life is over, or he can live if he accepts the mantle as the avatar of Khonshu on Earth, chooses to be his right hand. And he do. He says, yes, please, I would like to live. So he wakes up suddenly, like he was dead, and he wakes up suddenly, clearly scaring the absolute shit out of Marlene. And he jumps up and grabs the cloak off of the idol. And he's like, I got work to do, man. I'll be back. And he takes off. He goes and he tracks down Bushman, who is just partying it up, torturing all the widows of the men he's just killed. Like, all right, dance for me, ladies, dance, entertain me. So he gets in there and he takes out or scatters like all of Bushman's men, and he's getting ready to grab Bushman and like end him as well when Frenchie shows up and sees Marlene sneaking around and grabs her, and she's like, ah! And Mark's like, no, let her go. She's cool. She's with us. But Bushman took the opportunity to, you know, run off. No, that's gonna happen. You're gonna have that on big jobs like that when you have friends you call Frenchie. Okay, come up with better nicknames. So Mark is now this avatar for Moon Knight, or for Khonshu. He's Moon Knight, and he develops these personalities in order to successfully be Moon Knight, in order to be a more, you know, more effective vigilante. He dons these other personalities. So the first one he creates is Stephen Grant, and Stephen Grant is a Wall Street wunderkind. He's just a wizard with Wall Street, and so he takes the money that Mark Spector made as a mercenary and he parlays that into this vast fortune. He makes him like stupid rich, and then he buys a mansion in Long Island for him, Marlene, and Frenchie to live. You know, he and Marlene are now a couple, and they all live like one big happy super family in Long Island. Well, he also develops another personality to help him get the word on the street, a streetwise cab driver named Jake Lockley, and he's got contacts at Gina's Diner and this homeless man named Crawley. So he's got, you know, his personality's Mark Spector. Then he's got Moon Knight. Then he's got Stephen Grant, and then Jake Lockley. And he goes around at night protecting those who travel at night. This series ran until 1984, and we didn't have another Moon Knight series until the next year, 1985, where we get the Fist of Khonshu. And in this is where we get the most, I'd say, recognizable aspect of Mark. In the Fist of Khonshu, we learn that the weight of operating under all of those different identities, those different personalities, have been too much for Mark Spector's mind. So we discover that Mark is suffering from dissociative identity disorder. Now, at first in the comics, they're calling it schizophrenia, and then, which is incorrect. And then it is called multiple personality disorder, but medical science has advanced since then, and it is now called dissociative identity disorder. So that's how I'm going to refer to it. Now, it comes out that after all this time of, you know, operating under these different personalities, his mind is kind of fractured under the weight of it. And now he can't really tell what's real and what's not anymore, who he really is. He's like forgetting that. He's still, you know, he has Frenchie and Marlene. Frenchie actually made him super cool mooncopter. I mean, I could really see why people compare Moon Knight and Batman, because they are very similar in a lot of ways. They're both rich, have super cool gadgets, operate at night. So it was in these comics that we learn his powers are very connected to the moon. When the moon is full, that's when his powers are at their height. In the later comics, like Fist of Khonshu, they took those superpowers away and they just made him like, he was an expert detective, very proficient in martial arts and combat. He's got all these high-tech gadgets, like that became his thing. They retcon that, take it away. They reset Moon Knight a few different times which is something that does happen to comics. And Moon Knight was victim to low sales because Marvel had this great idea to take certain titles off of all the news racks and just put them in specialty comic stores, thinking that, you know, that would help sales if these specialty places knew they could return comics and get their money back. But because average Joe did not go to these specialty comic stores that often, they weren't seeing the issues, so they quit buying them. Well, because of this, they would cancel a run and then they'd restart it and they would change a few things thinking it would garner more interest. And that happened to Moon Knight a few different times. The run that started in 1989 and lasted until 1994 was Mark Spector Moon Knight. In 1994, at the end of the Mark Spector Moon Knight run, Mark sacrifices himself to save his loved ones that, you know, he occasionally runs off because of his mental disorder. They have a hard time with it. It's hard for people to understand because with Moon Knight throughout all of his titles, all of his comic runs, we aren't really sure what's really going on. We aren't really sure that, is this just part of him being Moon Knight? Because he sees Khonshu everywhere and he's always talking to Khonshu. And Khonshu's kind of an a-hole, always messing with him. Like, we're not 100% certain, like, is he really crazy? Is he insane and all of this is in his head? Or is this really happening? Is this all a part of him being the avatar of Khonshu? So it's very difficult for his loved ones, Marlene and Frenchie, for them to really understand what's happening to him. And occasionally they take off. I mean, they're always there when he really needs them, but it's very difficult for him to have these relationships because, you know, one second he's Mark Spector, the next he's Moon Knight, and then he's waking up and he's Stephen Grant. He can't keep it all straight in his head. And if he can't keep his stuff straight in his head, then how are his friends supposed to be able to do that too? Like, it's very difficult. So he ends up sacrificing himself and dies to protect his loved ones. And it's not until 1998, during the Resurrection Wars, that he is brought back. But he doesn't have his own comic run again until 2006. In 2006, Frenchie comes out. He comes out and tells Mark that he's gay and he's been in love with him the whole time. That kind of makes sense now. And that run lasted until 2008, and we don't get another Moon Knight title until 2011. And that's when we get another persona called Mr. Knight. And Mr. Knight wears a white mask with a crescent moon on it, but he also just wears like a white suit. And he's kind of like Sherlock. He just works in a consulting capacity. I'm getting makeup all over my shirt. Look at that. Oh, that's making it worse. Enjoy! That's what I get. I had that coming. So he works as a consultant for the police with like normal everyday crime. Like, he just helps them catch bad guys. Not like super bad guys, just regular bad guys. And he also, you know, he did some work with the Avengers, you know, Secret Avengers, West Coast Avengers, Midnight Suns, but he's not exactly a team player. I mean, let's face it, he's already got his own team in his head. So he doesn't do well with others, and he's very unstable. So the Avengers make him go to therapy. They give him a therapist, and like, he really cares about, you know, helping the community. He starts a mission, you know, just really trying to help people. But he's still having trouble grasping what's real and what's not, which is why the Avengers made him get a therapist. So Mark wakes up in St. Mercy's. It's very well known in Marvel Comics. It's kind of like their Arkham in a way. It's a hospital. And he wakes up and we see all these other characters that we recognize from past Moon Knight comics, including Gina from Gina's Diner. She was, you know, an informant for him, her and her 2 sons. He frequently met her there, and Crowley. And we see him, we're like, what's going on? Why is he in this insane asylum? Like, then we flash to Stephen Grant, who's in LA, and he's producing a Moon Knight TV show based on his life as Moon Knight. He eventually kills Bushman, and he like cuts his face off with one of his crescent orangs. So he throws things kind of like batarangs, like Batman, but they're crescent moon shaped. It's super cool. But anyway, he slices off Bushman's face, like I guess to spite his skull tattoo. So he starts seeing Bushman like he does Captain America and Spider-Man and Wolverine, but he sees him after he'd cut his face off. It's so, and he's sassy. He's so sassy. At one point he's like, "Oh no, you didn't." Oh. It keeps going back and forth between, you know, Stephen Grant and Mark being in this hospital. And then we see Mark, he's on the moon. He's an astronaut, and he's with Frenchie, and they're flying planes, and they're defending the moon from these space werewolves. And it's just crazy. It's so crazy. And then we flash to Mark is in a cab, and Jake Lockley's driving the cab. Like, how is this happening? Those are both personalities of Mark. How are they together in this cab? And again, we are left wondering what is really happening and what isn't, which is the beauty, the absolute beauty of Moon Knight. Eventually, we discover that all of this was a test. It was set up by Khonshu. Khonshu was trying to help Mark heal his mind. It's like Khonshu was totally aware the whole time, and we get hints to this throughout the series, throughout the books, because Khonshu is constantly talking to Mark, and Mark is talking back. And so we get to that point where we finally figure out that, okay, so Khonshu's trying to help him, and eventually Mark reabsorbs the other personalities and heals his mind. Now, he does have a brother, we discover later, who apparently was a bastard. He became one of Moon Knight's villains, and we find out that, you know, they were both in the CIA together. His name's Randall. They were in the CIA together, and you know, he kills Mark's girlfriend while they're in this big fight. Not a good guy, and he believes he's the rightful hand of Khonshu. And Mark ends up, you know, having to kill him, as you do when your brother's a bastard. Mark has had super rough life. I'm pretty excited to see the Disney Plus series with Oscar Isaac. Oscar Isaac is a fabulous actor. The trailers look amazing. Now, so far, it does look like they have changed the Stephen Grant persona. Instead of being this wealthy playboy Bruce Wayne type, he's a janitor at a museum in London. So I'm interested to see how that plays out. It does look like they are, I think they're going off of the 2006 and later issues of Moon Knight. And it looks like that thing he's beating in one of the teasers, the trailer, looks like a werewolf to me. So I think it's a nod to Werewolf by Night. That would be cool. I have a lot of confidence in Oscar Isaac's ability to effectively take on this role. And so far, the Marvel Disney Plus shows have been pretty good. Didn't care too much for Falcon and Winter Soldier. Felt like that could have been a TV movie. But I feel like Falcon and Winter Soldier was a bit of a victim of the pandemic nonsense. They had to change a lot of things because of it. And so that left some dodgy plot holes, some confusing stuff. But Moon Knight looks pretty tight, gotta admit. Like they're really gonna respect that character, which is always the most important thing to me. I like Moon Knight because you never know what's happening. You never know what you're gonna get. You never know what's real. I mean, very rarely do they ever like admit that for you, so you know what's going on. I like Moon Knight for the same reasons I like Batman, but I think I like him more because they lean into it. Batman is based on psychosis, and so is Moon Knight, but Moon Knight is not subtle about it. It's very in your face. And that adds another layer of intrigue to the books. Kind of like, oh, are we gonna find out in this one if this is real, or are we gonna find out in this one if it's all in his head? You just never know. So it's pretty much Moon Knight in a nutshell. He cray cray. Anyway, I'm pretty excited for the Moon Knight series. I'm really curious to see what direction they take it in. I'd like to cover it. I might start doing that, doing breakdowns. If that is something you would like to see me do, please comment down below. Got a lot of good stuff coming up this year, and I am pretty excited to talk about it with you guys. You got any theories on what they're gonna do in this Moon Knight series? Put them down below. I check it. I do. I don't have anyone else to talk to about these things, so I have to resort to the internet. That sentence brought to you by Moira Rose from Schitt's Creek. That's right, I changed my shirt. I brought a spare. Good for me, right? Well, that's it, everybody. That is my Moon Knight look and everything I've got on Moon Knight for today. I'll probably do some more later, especially when the show's out, and it's my straw. We'll probably talk about, what they changed for live action as opposed to what's canon in the comics. If you enjoy the content that I'm putting out, please hit like and subscribe. I crave validation. Yeah, I do. I could use the boost. You can find us on Instagram and Facebook at Comics and Cosmetics. You can also now find us on Twitter. You could find me there muddling through. I'm very new to Twitter, so I probably overshare. So if you would like a Twitter experience similar to your grandmother learning how to use social media, then follow me at D_Sanssy. Thanks again, nerdlings, for tuning in and hanging out with me. I appreciate it so much. You have no idea. I will see you in the next one. Until then, have a wizard day. Bye.